Alright, YouTube, what is going on, and welcome back to the channel for a brand new Pokemon investing and collecting video. Today we are going over some of the hottest cards of the week. We have the movers and shakers list from TCG Player, as well as a couple of extra cards towards the end of the video that I've noticed have been absolutely skyrocketing in price. So make sure you guys stick around for the whole video to see all of these cards on this list, as well as the couple of extras that I've got in store for you. I do appreciate all of you guys tuning in. And just quickly before we jump into these cards, I want to say thank you to today's video sponsor, which is, of course, PokeNotify. Now, PokeNotify, if you haven't heard of them, they are a premium Discord server dedicated to bring you all of the best in-stock notifications for brand new Pokemon products coming back into stock at stores like Walmart, Target, and many more. If you guys want to be the first to know when these drops are coming, make sure you check out PokeNotify. I have a link down in the description for a free trial of their service if you guys want to try and get your hands on some of their products. Now, PokeNotify does have access to multiple countries all the way around the world, so make sure you check them out with the free trial. And if you do sign up to the premium service, make sure you use code TWISTED to get yourself a discount upon signing up. Now, with that said, let's jump into these cards for the day. Starting off with one of my personal favorites, it is the Mew EX, or the Bubble Mew from Paldean Fates. Now, this card has seen a ton of action since its release. It's gone up, it's gone down, it's going back up again now, and the price is sitting right around $300 US for a near mint copy. Now, with this starting to spike back up, if you take a look at the 1 year chart, you can see a little bit of action. So back here, it was originally $84 to $90, and it spiked initially up to $270, dropped a little bit, then spiked up to $421. It's now dropped back down to about $280, $290, and now it's on its way back up again. So in the last 3 months, this is down 9%. That's something to keep in mind. It is down in the last 3 months. However, it's started to trend back upwards, and we can see from the chart here on TCG Player that there have been quite a few more sold in the recent weeks as opposed to what they had been selling at. And we know when this happens, prices tend to go back up. So if you're sitting on potentially buying a Bubble Mew, this could be a good time to grab it before it does start to boom and go back up significantly. So I would get ahead of the game if you haven't already. For those of you that have one, maybe sit on this. If you were thinking of selling it, hold on to it for a little bit longer, because I can definitely see this being one of the top cards from all of Scarlet and Violet, and I think it will continue to go up in the future. Next up on the list, another banger from Scarlet Violet, the Magikarp from Paldea Evolved. This is one of my favorite cards in terms of artwork. Since coming back to the hobby, like, I only got back into things when Stellar Crown was out, and that was the new set, so it wasn't that long ago. But again, as I do more and more research on older sets that I missed out on, and then looking at these newer sets that are coming out, this Magikarp artwork is still by far one of the best to ever come out of Pokemon. And in saying that, the price naturally reflects that. You know, this card was, if you go back, it was so cheap. It was under or close to $100 at one point, spiked all the way up to like 250, 270. 276 was its top. It bottomed out at 190 again. Now it's back up to 235. So this card is growing. It is getting a little bit of attention at the moment. You can see on the chart more recently how many have sold in comparison to previously. You look at sort of the first half of this graph, there wasn't much going on. There was what seemed to be a pretty big buyout or a big sell day that day. And then there's just been more trickling through as we go, causing this price to kind of jump up. So it is 6.5% up on the last 3 months, which again is pretty significant when you're in the hundreds of dollars for these cards. So Magikarp doing really well, and again, this is one that's extremely hard to grade. So if the PSA 10 copy of this card is anything to go by, it has a huge premium on it. It is a ton of money. So if you have one, congrats to you. You're very lucky, because it is a hard card to grade. Next up, we're going backwards a little bit to the Mewtwo EX from Breakthrough. Now, this card has more of an increase than any of the previous cards we've spoken about in this video. This one is up 94%, which is huge in the last 3 months. This card 3 months ago was sitting at around $70. It's now up at $154 as the market price on this graph, or 158 if you check it over here. 94% increase is nothing to laugh at in 3 months or to snark at. That's a great growth rate in a couple of months. Now, to me, this card, I think it's not my favorite artwork. Like, it's definitely one of the Mewtwo arts that I'm not a huge fan of personally. I think Mewtwo just looks a little bit goofy and he looks like he's like cheering for something midair. I don't know where the actual art comes from. Someone in the comments might be able to let me know, but I just feel like this doesn't depict the badass version of Mewtwo that I'm used to seeing and I know. So I don't know, maybe someone can explain to me in the comments a little bit better what this card is all about. But again, not one of my favorite artworks, but still seems to be climbing up and up in price. There was a huge amount, well, I say huge amount, but compared to what had previously sold, there was a good amount of them that sold. 10 going out on that day, which would have caused the price to jump. And potentially if it keeps selling at a similar rate, then we could see even more growth in the future. Next up, we have the Gengar and Mimikyu from Team Up. Now, these are some really cool cards. I wasn't collecting at the time when Team Up came out, so I missed all of the hype around those cards. But it seems like all tag teams in general right now are just coming back in a big way. They're getting more and more popular. A lot more people are asking for them. If they're at card shows, they're selling out faster. If you watch vendor POVs, which is what I spend a lot of my time watching on YouTube, everyone wants tag teams. Everyone's asking for them. And in saying that, the prices are going to reflect that. When the demand is really, really high, people are going to start pricing them higher and higher. And when they sell for those rates, the value of the card is going to go up as well. So looking at the Gengar Mimikyu, this one's up 73% in the last couple of months, sitting now at $214, which 3 months ago, it was $122. So it's basically added close to $100 of value on top of where it was sitting previously a couple of months ago. And again, it's such a cool artwork. I know a lot of people debate between the alt art versus the regular art and which one's better, but I still think this is a really cool card nonetheless, and it's good to see it getting some love. Sticking with tag teams as well, the next card is the Pikachu and Zechrom from Team Up. Team Up seems to be doing really well all around at the moment. So it's interesting to see that the cards from that set are growing. But again, it comes down to these tag team cards that everyone is after. This one is up 98%, sitting at just under $100. You could basically call it $100 at this point. There was a decent amount of them purchased in the middle of April, which started this climb, and then a few more have sold since then, which have kind of just continued it on. But it seems as though they keep growing and growing. And when you look at the listings on TCG Player, there are not many available at all in a near mint condition. And the lowest listed, I mean, this one's obviously going to be a Chinese one or something like that with that sort of pricing. But the lowest listed from a starred seller is $290. So this card could potentially go up and up if these ones sell through here. That could be a huge spike in the price for this particular card too. So they're all things you need to consider when you look at graphs like this. Next up is the tag team Magikarp and Waylord. This is a funny artwork. I feel like this is one of those meme artworks that people just love. It's only up 23%. However, it's a $456 card, right? So when you talk about a 20% increase, that's going from $360 to $450. It's still $90 increase. And that's just in 3 months. You know, when you look at this over a year, I'm assuming it would probably have some sort of significant jump. Yeah, $250 a year ago, up to $450 now. So 100 of that, basically half of the growth, has been in the last 3 months, which is pretty hectic to think about. But still a funny artwork. It falls onto that tag team category, and it's one of those cards where, again, PSA 10 prices on this are ridiculous. So another cool artwork on the list for that one. And then the last one that they had for TCG players, movers, and shakers list this week was the Umbreon Gold Star from the Celebrations Classic Collection. This one is currently $75. It's up 102%, but literally like a week to 2 weeks ago, yeah, literally like the end of June, so pretty much a week ago, this card was selling for $37. There has been, I would say, an orchestrated buyout of this card with 128 items selling between June 27th and 29th, causing this massive spike in value, taking the Celebrations Umbreon up to $74.50. This, again, we've seen this time and time again with the Scarlet and Violet era cards. It looks like they're going back and they're targeting promo cards now, and you'll see that as we jump to the next couple of cards as well. But this is pretty much just a group of people or an individual that are buying out all of the cards on TCG Player, trying to drive the price up. So when you actually consider the value of this card, it's being manipulated right now. So if you have this card, cool. Don't expect it to stay at this price. I definitely think it will come back down, but I don't think it will come back down as low as $37. We see this with a lot of the cards that got pumped earlier in the year. They went up significantly and then they dropped back down, but they didn't drop back down to the price they were originally at. They were still higher valued than where they were previously. So that's something to consider with this. If you have them, when it gets to the peak of that price and you see it start to dip back down, if you're looking to make some gains off it, that could potentially be a good time to sell. But I know the PSA 10 versions of this are starting to go up as well. So there's definitely a few options there with the Umbreon, and it's no different with the Greninja Gold Star. The Greninja Gold Star from Celebrations, this is the Sword and Shield promo. This one was from the ETB, I'm pretty sure, and it's up 156% in 3 months, but you can see most of that has come in the last couple of weeks. There was a huge buyout here of 426 items sold in a 3-day period, when normally prior to that, you'd be lucky to sell over 100 on most given time periods. So huge spike with this. The PSA 10s on this are going for ridiculous prices. I'm pretty sure they're over $1,000 for PSA 10s on the Gold Star Greninja, which insanity to me. But yeah, something to keep an eye on. And when I say $1,000, I'm pretty sure that's Australian dollars that I've seen them listed over 1,000, but still, that's like 600 US dollars. You know what I mean? 650. So if my conversion rates are semi okay, but still, that's a lot of money for a PSA 10 in a $20 card, right? So this thing went from being like $6-7 up to being, you know, $18 now pretty much. And yeah, the PSA 10s on this, it's ridiculous seeing the prices for them. But yeah, I thought I'd add this one into the list, as well as this one, the Lucario Vstar. It seems like the trend of Sword and Shield promos being bought out is starting to, I guess, stack, and there's a few more cards that are being bought out. This one clearly being bought out, the Lucario Vstar from Crown Zenith. This is the ETB promo. You look at how many had been sold previously, sort of $3, $3, $3, and then all of a sudden a huge buyout where 455 of them were sold over a 3-day period, shooting the price up to basically $10. So the Lucario card is being bought out in a big way, and we'll see some growth there. But again, it could potentially go back down in the future when they aren't selling. But I thought I'd throw it in. It's 141% up on its previous price, which is, yeah, it's no joke. It's gone up very, very quickly. And I think you can say it's safe to say that looking at the graph here, that it's been bought out. And then the last one, just wanted to touch on and keep an eye on, the Lance's Charizard Sword and Shield promo. This one is up 80%. And again, maybe a little less obvious that this was a buyout, but when you look at the graph, there's obviously a few selling sort of here and here. There was one big day back in the middle of June, and then now there's been another big day here. Where's that? In the end of June / beginning of July, and a decent day here after that. So there has been quite a few of them sold. This has jumped in price from a card that pretty much no one was paying attention to, no one was looking at, no one was even interested in. So I don't know who's causing this to happen and what group of people are buying all of these out, but it's making card prices fluctuate. So for me, when I look at pricing on cards, I tend to avoid TCG Player now, as much as it is the standard, or has been the standard in the past for people pricing their cards out. I don't like to trust what their actual market price here is in terms of the card value. I would rather go off the last few solds on eBay. That way you can pretty much just see exactly what they've sold for and what people are buying them and willing to pay for them. I don't know if anything on TCG Player can be considered accurate when you look at it from a buyout perspective of, you know, 384 items here being sold versus, you know, the last 10 on eBay selling for half of the price of what TCG Player is saying. And there's still current listings on eBay that are lower than this. So just make sure you do your research if you're at card shows and people are pricing from TCG Player. It can be a little bit tricky when you get into that sort of realm. So make sure you do your research on those cards before making any sturdy purchases. Might not matter so much with the cheaper cards like these ones, but if you're looking at things that are much more expensive, then you run into a little bit of risk there that you're going to overpay for something that's not really worth it. But with that said, that's everything I have for today's video. We're going to get back to another one very soon in the next couple of days with some Japanese cards. I appreciate all of you tuning in, and I will see you in the next one.